ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here from Oilers Live. We're here for another Thursday night. We're kicking it off this week, a little bit late, starting at 10 after 9, but these guys are hockey fans. They're not tech junkies, so we had to figure out a few different things. Tonight, as always, we've got Mr. Mike Dursa, and then we've got two goalies tonight. Not one, but two. We can almost have a full hockey game here. We have got Bob the goalie, Bob Schmidt, and Mr. Chad Graham. Welcome, guys.
The dynamic duo.
Yeah. How you guys doing? How's everybody doing?
Well, waiting on some hockey.
Yeah, waiting on some hockey. So let's start with that. I heard today, Bieksa, this is coming from, I don't know where Kelly from Beer League heard it, and probably on his podcast, on Bieksa's podcast or something. What's his podcast? Something in Juice? Anyway, Gin and Juice? I don't know. Anyway, the Bieksa podcast likely is the likely source. He said something like half the guys he's talked to don't want to play. Truth or fiction? What do you think?
I'm going to say fiction.
Bobby?
First off, it's called the Kess and Juice podcast.
Okay, thank you. I've butchered everybody's names, and it's not out of disrespect. I mean, those guys obviously, they played some hockey. It's a little bit. Yeah, you're right. It is Kessler after all. I mean, I'm sure he couldn't even spell the name of my podcast. So, anyway, what's your thought, Bob?
I find it hard to believe. I think, if anything, guys are just frustrated. And the biggest thing that's been just that timeline, I think this gray area is driving everybody nuts. You want it in black and white. This is the day we're starting. Let's go do it. If anybody is hesitant to play, I guarantee you by their first shift or even their first couple of practices, they'll be itching to go. They're competitors. Their whole dream is to win the Stanley Cup. Everybody that's back in it has a chance to win it. So if anybody has said it, it's probably out of frustration. It was never meant straight from the heart kind of thing. But they'll be juiced, ready to go.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so go ahead.
I feel like if they're talking about equipment changes not needing to be made, not wearing full face masks, not all this stuff because they're going to be daily testing, I mean, it sounds like it's going to go ahead to me. If they're talking about that kind of stuff, then it's in the last stages.
Yeah, I think 100% it's going ahead is my feeling on it. Dursa, what's your thought?
Consider the source. who really is going to be chatting it up with Kevin Bieksa now?
Yeah,
honestly, Corey Perry.
He's trying to be the next Biz Nasty, right? Like he's getting on the CBC or not the CBC anymore, Sportsnet broadcasts. Like,
I don't mind listening to him. Honestly, I like him more as a broadcaster than I ever did as a player.
Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah, fair enough. And here's the thing, right? I mean, let's be honest, right? Like it's these young guys, right? Like the guys that are retired, the guys that are out of the game, the guys that are playing it now, they look at us just like our kids looked at us, right? Like they're the old guys now, right? They're not Connor McDavid's not hanging around with Bieksa and Kessler and talking about the old days because he's living the dream right now, right? This is the thing. So how many current guys are they talking to outside of maybe the Canucks themselves, right?
Or the Ducks that aren't going to make it.
Yeah.
Just throw it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing, right? There have been a couple of players that came out and said, well, I don't like it, but I'm not, we're not even in in it, so who cares?
Yeah,
right?
that's why
it's easy
that's
to
kind of
say.
why I said consider the source, because if BX is living the life right now in California, who's he really talking to?
We all know there's no hockey in California until next season, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Drew Doughty.
How many Boston Bruins players have been quoted as saying they don't want to play anymore? How many Lightning players have been quoted saying they don't want to play anymore?
Oh yeah,
How many Oilers players? Like anybody that's got an actual chance at it, I guarantee you they're not talking that way.
Yeah, I would be very surprised. I think there's probably a couple guys, with families that, but even then, Like honestly, you're playing a game that you love. Most of these guys, like, having Caleb on the show the other day, like he loves the game of hockey, right? Like these guys do, whether you think so or not. There's young enough guys that love getting out there and playing. It can be hard work. They practice a lot, but they want to get out there and play. Every day they're not on the ice. They want to be out on the ice. That's just the way it is. And so I wouldn't even be surprised that the guys with kids at home are saying, "Hell yeah, get me." They're used to being away from their family, right? And a chance for a shot and a legitimate shot, I think, for every team at the Stanley Cup. Hell, I'm in, right? And the guys that have a shot at it, they're willing to take the time and the effort to. They don't. The truth is, if they're at home in the Stanley Cup playoffs, they're not really seeing their family anyway, right? Like you're playing back-to-back games those first couple weeks, right? Like I've heard wives talk about that during playoffs they don't see their husbands in the NHL anyway. I saw, yeah. So anyway, I guess that means we're the superior podcast.
I thought that was a given.
I can say that because all 5-6 people that listen are and 3 of them are on here right now. Uh, none of them know Kessler personally, so it's never getting
How many
back
times
to him.
have Kessler and Bieksa have had 2 goalies on at once?
Wow.
That says it all, right?
Exactly. They couldn't even field a team. We could at least field a team.
I can count how many times Kessler's been on top of a goal.
Yep. Yeah. I did try to listen. I think the guys they're looking at the success of like a Biznasty, right? And they all want to be Bissonnette now, right? Like he's the king of media right now when it comes to hockey. And so, the guys like Kessler and Bieksa and all those guys. In fact, I've heard from a number of alumni they're, the chat and talk about it, wanting to do their own podcasts. So it's not too big of a surprise that those guys would get into it, being the kind of guys that like to muck shit up once in a while, right?
I listened to their first pod put out.
Didn't they have who'd they have there? Lucic or what was it? Who did they have? Draisaitl? What they? Or no, Cassian. They had Cassian. That's the one I listened to. I knew I'd get it eventually. They had Cassian on there. And I'd probably get him on my podcast if he didn't block me on Twitter. He'd be, I'm sure he's regretting that decision now.
You want me to try it? He doesn't have me blocked yet.
He doesn't have you blocked yet? Reach out.
I'll
please.
message him on Instagram.
That's right. Do Instagram. I'm not blocked there yet, so I'm sure it's only a matter of time. Not you again. Oh man.
How could you possibly get blocked by Cassian?
It had to be when he was playing with the Canucks. I honestly don't know. I didn't know until I went to tag him in a like after one of his games that he had, and it didn't even come up, and I couldn't figure it out. So I feel like he blocked everybody. Like if you're not blocked, you didn't do your job.
I'm pretty sure I deserve to get blocked by him.
That's what you said, yeah. I couldn't even I did the advanced Twitter search with his handle and to see everything that I ever tweeted to him. So I'm pretty sure it must have been a DM. No, there was no DMs either. That would be funny. Oh man, I would love to have that.
You better stick Kenner on the ice and you're off it.
Yeah.
Bobby, who do you think's starting in goal for us when we get this thing kicked off?
Yeah, good question.
Who do I think is starting, or who do I want to start it?
Who do you think?
You know what? My instinct at first said, and I think this is the smart move, that it should be Mike Smith. He's the veteran. He's been there. And let's face it, as shitty as a year as he had last year with Calgary, he really picked it up in the playoffs. So he knows how to play in crunch time.
Yeah.
Like he's a big money.
Competitor.
And he knows what Tippett wants from him too.
Yeah, absolutely. They have a good connection. They have a relationship from before. But I do think, and it should be this way, it'll be a short leash because Costner's been playing well. He actually deserves a start. But you got to go with Mikey first and then take it from there and see what happens.
Yeah, especially after the break, right? Like a long break like this. I think he's rested up. That's the only thing. That's in my mind the only knock on him is doesn't have the, he just doesn't have it to go a whole season playing in net, right? He's not my age, right? I mean, he's younger. I guess he's younger, but whatever.
No, they're wearing masks now, Mike.
They're wearing masks now. They're wearing. Wow. It says the guy that's older than me. Oh, man.
I know it doesn't look like it, but I wore a mask too when I was playing.
Hey, speaking of masks, I saw at the antique mall on some social media platform. You know the one where the United Cycle used to be in?
Mm-hmm.
You know that one?
Yeah.
I saw a picture of a Grant Fear, like a Grant Fear replica mask, one of the full-on things. I couldn't tell the price. It looked like it was just over $100. And I thought if I was a nice guy, I would buy that for one of the goalies on the program. But I'm not a nice guy. So. But I'm not a nice guy. By the way, shout out to Mr. Keith Lynch. That's the one.
That's the one I want right there.
That's the replica, but they didn't have it signed.
Oh.
I think, okay, you got to look it up because that's the antique mall. And now the thousands of people that are listening right now are like, they are the old Strathcona Antique Mall. They're all rushing there. Tomorrow morning there's going to be a lineup at the door. But yeah, no, that's, I swear to you, that's in the store. You got to look it up.
Well, I hate to bring up bad vibes and point fingers at anybody, but it was my birthday 2 weeks ago, and I got nothing from you guys. But whatever, let's move on.
We did a whole episode in your honor.
Like you haven't yet, Mike.
Yeah, we did. Damn that coronavirus stalling the the packages as they went out. Yeah, we did a whole episode for you, man. A birthday episode. Must have been when you were drugged up after you dislocated the elbow.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? You did do an episode on my birthday, and it was and you hogged Amy Jones for the whole time.
Oh, damn it! That was bad. That's bad news.
Completely accurate because we also had Caleb.
That's He's right. He's got you there.
Hey, how jealous? How jealous are you guys of Caleb? Like I was. Like watching that, and like you said before, Mike, like the excitement you saw in this kid's voice when he talked about hockey. Like he was so involved and so passionate when he's talking about it. Like it takes me back to when you would round up guys to go play a game on the outdoor rink. You were so excited the whole day to go play that game. That's that kind of energy. He has that energy the whole time when he's talking about hockey. Like I would give anything to be in that kid's skates, to have, that age, to be that excited, to live your dream, to pursue this. Like, it was amazing. The joy in his face was fantastic.
It's Christmas Eve every day for him.
Every day. Good point, Durst. I like that.
Yeah. No, I absolutely. He's, and he realizes it, right? I like talking to guys like that, like when they're, because he's still on the cusp, right? Like he's still got to, prove himself every night. I mean, most guys do, but what's that?
Are you ruling me and Chad out?
No, not at all. You got a shot. We'll
see when I'm holding that cup and you're crying off in the corner who's on the cusp and who isn't.
Like how many old guys went out and bought goalie equipment after that guy in Chicago got a shot to play, right? And then and then the next guy up, right? I mean, now everybody's like, can I do the Zamboni? Can I please? Let me do it. That I think the guy in Toronto, that was classic. I think what makes that one even better is he practices with those guys, right? So he's got to go back the next day. And the guy in Chicago though, that was pretty great, right? Like he was completely unexpected, right?
Scott Foster.
What was his name?
Scott Foster.
Scott Foster. Damn it! Like you remember everything, Bob. I've got
That's
to.
why he's the stats man.
That's why he's the stats guy.
I even remembered my own birthday, but whatever. Let's move on.
yeah. That's so true. And at your
I
age,
feel like we're
I
going to hear
guess-
that punchline about
yeah,
8 million times tonight.
yeah, that's right.
But let's move on.
But let's move on. Oh man,
I'll get you a
I'm not-
present, Bob. I didn't know it was your birthday.
no,
It was all over social media from my fan club.
that's right. The now you're. I mean, this is big time. Like this is run the goalie Thursdays right now. I'm actually, guys, I'm glad that you've got this chance. I mean, you might still get sent down. We'll see how you perform tonight, but but right now you got a shot with the big guys, with the Mike and Mikes, and
So,
wow, yeah. How's it feel? I mean, you know what? I sense a little bit of the same excitement Caleb had.
all my dreams are coming true. So,
Yeah.
Yep. 100%. I
Yep.
can't even believe that I'm here.
I know. Like,
All right. This is degrading into a sad affair. Cheers.
oh,
like to
jeez.
thank-
Wow.
I would like to thank my goallie partner Chad for helping make this possible. I couldn't have done it without you, buddy. Couldn't have done it without
You
you.
could not.
And my goalie partner Bob, like he rose above everybody else.
That's right. You always got to.
shine through this podcast, and I have nothing but love for Bob.
Wow. It is
promised
getting
myself-
sad there, Mike. It is
I
getting
promised Chad I
sad.
wouldn't do this.
So, okay. Let's bring it back to hockey, which is why we're here. And here's the thing. So we talked about you got Smitty. You figured gets a start in Edmonton. I think you're right. And I think you're also right about the Koskinen, like that. We'll see both of them and probably sharing the load somewhat. Who in the teams that have qualified do you think, from a goaltending perspective, has the best shot of surprising everybody in the league, like the Hasek or the Kiprasov or something like that, where all of a sudden they're in the finals because they got a hot goalie that you didn't really expect to be as hot as they ended up? What's your take?
Me? Mikko
Yeah.
Koskinen.
I think. Sorry, I actually think your video's on loop here. We got to fix that. Wait, guys, sorry about the audio problems. All right, I should have. You know what they say? They say always ask a question where you know the answer, and I should have known the answer to that one. Bob, your thoughts outside of Edmonton?
I got two. I got two
Okay.
goalies that I'm going to keep my eye on this postseason. The first one is going to be Vasilevsky, who is my Vezina choice for the year. And I think because of how badly Tampa was embarrassed last year, they got something to prove, and Vasilevsky especially. So I think you'll see him put a lot of pressure on himself, and he's got the goods to be able to come through with that. So I think we'll see a big playoff push from him. The other one that might be a surprise one, I think. Don't be surprised if Pittsburgh ends up going with Tristan Jarry over Matt Murray. Murray's been so inconsistent this year, and Jarry is doing to Murray basically what Murray did to Fleury. So he's got the goods, and if they might start Matt, but if he falters the least bit, they might ride Tristan the whole way, and he could be one of those surprise goalies that carries the team further than he should.
Interesting.
One of my favorite goalies last year when I was watching the Stanley Cup playoffs was actually Connor Hellebuck. I think that he's a goaltender that's to be watched, and I think if Winnipeg has a shot at anything, it's going to be from him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, he's even just to get a mention for the Hart, right?
So I think he deserves a mention.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, to be in the conversation, just tells you about the kind of season that he's had, for sure. It's pretty awesome. I think Hellebuck. What about you, Dursa?
Carter Hart in Philly. Watch him.
Yeah,
Carter Hart?
That's a good pick.
Yeah. So nobody's taking Montreal.
Well, the thing with Montreal is they have nothing to lose. They shouldn't even be in there.
Well, that's
And Carey
to
Carey
me.
Price
That's a
does have the
big.
goods to make it to make a battle out of it, but it's still Montreal. Like this is not a team that's gonna
No.
do a lot of damage. Like if they play their way in, that it'll be because of Carey Price. That's as far as they'll go. They're just not strong enough.
Like,
They don't have the depth.
that's like saying Frederick Anderson's going to win them a cup. Not chance.
So you're completely against the like you don't think that Carey Price has the goods, eh?
He has the goods to carry a team.
I'm
has the
talking to
goods to carry-
Chad. I mean, Chad seems a little bit less enthralled.
I like Carey Price. I always have and always will, but I just think Montreal sucks so bad that even Carey Price can't take them to anywhere special in the playoffs. Like, no, they suck.
Yeah.
1996 Cujo would have a hard time carrying that team.
Hey, there you go.
Mid '80s Grant Fuhrer. You start naming the
Wow.
greats that couldn't carry that crappy team anywhere near a cup run. Not a chance.
Wow. You guys
The
are.
goalie cannot carry the offense for them. That's the thing. Like they have to win every game 1-0. That's too much to ask for Carey Price.
All right. Okay. All right. And Dursey, you think Carter Hart and Philly?
If you're asking for a surprise goalie,
Yeah. Well, if they weren't, sorry, go ahead.
Favorite series. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
My favorite series last year was the Winnipeg St. Louis series. I think that was the best series of the entire playoffs. That was such good hockey. And Connor Hellebuck really shined for me. I was really impressed with his play.
Yeah, well, I mean, he should have an easy go round the first round, right, in the qualifying round. So, I mean, he'll be nice and rested up going into the actual playoffs. So, if you don't win the qualifying round, does that mean you didn't make the playoffs? I'm surprised they even allowed the voting before that.
I don't know. Like, how do you disregard the teams that are already in the position to make the playoffs? And this is a tough one. I'm not envious of the NHL right now.
it's a playoff. Fuck off.
It is. It's the postseason. That's how I'm looking at it. It's the postseason.
It feels like the Olympic Games or World Juniors.
Yeah.
It feels like tournament hockey.
Yeah, interesting.
It's the pre-postseason.
It is the pre. Yeah. That's what it is. The pre-postseason. Okay, let's move on. Next up, 22 blokes saw the door in Buffalo.
Holy crap! Yeah.
What? Okay, so Pagula, maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. Yeah. No, everything's good, all good. And then Kevin Adams, all of a sudden, is GM. Never having GM'd a team in the league. Thoughts? I mean, what led up to this, other than 3 years of almost making it and then falling apart?
I can start this one because I got an answer right away. You guys are thinking about it. Money.
Yeah, like too much money, like saving money.
Yeah, like the Sabres, I guess the owners of the Sabres are in a whole bunch of different businesses. I guess most owners of a professional sports franchise are, but times are a little tight for them, and they were looking at ways to cut salary, so they got rid of everybody. I mean, they needed to make some changes to improve their hockey club too, but I think it goes beyond that. I think it gets into dollars and cents, and
I believe they call it head smashed in Buffalo jump.
there you go. Using an Alberta reference for a New York problem.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's interesting. I mean, that's not the first thing that comes to my mind. Bob, you have any thoughts around this?
I think it's desperation. They haven't made the playoffs since 2011. You now have Jack Eichel, who is basically in the same situation as McDavid is, except for McDavid has some hope because the Oilers are improving. This team is being built around Eichel, but they're giving him nothing to play with. and he has voiced his frustration on the team. Now, when your franchise player who isn't even in his peak yet is basically saying out loud that when the time comes he could be looking elsewhere, you're going to make changes. So if anything, they have nothing to lose because Rochester, their minor league team, was garbage as well. So they're just going to clean house, start scratch, and hopefully it's a sign for Eichel that this is hope. We're gonna do something for you. So we'll see.
I mean, this. It's hard to make fun of this team because we went through the same thing, and in fact, they're not even there yet. What are they at? 8 years? Are they? How many years out? I think it's 8, right?
Well, the last time was 2011 that they were in the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay, so 9 years. So they're still rookies, right? I mean, we've in 14 years we've made it once, and not even officially this year now, I guess. I don't. I have a hard time. Like I have a hard time not understanding what they're going through. But when you look at their franchise, I think like if I look at the Pagulas came out and said everything's fine, and then all of a sudden you start hearing Eichel and Ristolainen and who knows who else saying, "Whoa, wait a second, this sucks," right? Like you invested a ton in a guy like Eichel, and let's be honest. I mean, I love Edmonton. And I'd move there in a second, but it takes a certain person to love Edmonton, right? Like it's not, there's no mountains right in beside you. There's no, lakes, and you got to love Edmonton for Edmonton. The River Valley's beautiful, but it's not, it's not like being somewhere with all the, nature and all that. But if you love it, you love it, and I love it. And so, but players got a chance to go play in Florida, California, all sorts of different places around the league where, and Buffalo is just the same thing. You ever been to Buffalo? I mean, driving up to Key Bank, every window's boarded up, right? Like it's not pretty. And so, you got a guy like Eichel, just like we've got a guy like McDavid, but you got a guy like Eichel who, has committed to this team. Like he signed a long-term contract. He bought a house. I can't remember whose old house in Buffalo, but he's committed to Buffalo. And then all of a sudden, he's got that face of resignation that you only see on guys that you're not surprised where later on that season or in the summer, you hear them demanding a trade, right? Like, thankfully, we've never got there with Connor, right? And the difference being with a guy like Connor is and Eichel, I don't want to take anything away from the guy. The guy's awesome, but he's no Connor, right?
No.
Like he is, there's only one Connor McDavid right now in the league. And the only guy that might be close, I think, might be McKinnon. And Draisaitl, maybe.
Draisaitl,
right? Yeah. But Eichel's not that guy. So he's got to have more of a supporting cast around him. Dahlin, I love Dahlin. Like, I think he's a hell of a defenseman. I watched him play live now 4 or 5 times, and he's the kind of guy that makes some moves that you only see if you watch him live. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't pick it up on TV on how smart, the hockey sense is on that kid. But they, he doesn't have the supporting cast, unfortunately. He doesn't have the beautiful brand new arena. He doesn't have, right? Like my guess is he comes out and says the stuff that he says, and you're Pagula, and right away the first thing going through your mind is, if I lose Eichel, and Mike, to your point, if I lose Eichel and my businesses are all hurt right now, you know what? I'm packing it in, right? That's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, Case did it right with Connor because he did build him, a legacy of his own to come here and make a great hockey club and put the supporting cast around him. And I'm telling you right now, like I said to Mike earlier when we were discussing, like what an hour ago talking on the phone, I was so disappointed when this season ended because I saw great things for this club this year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, we were starting to. This was, that emergence of Draisaitl this year. Not, and I don't want, honestly, if you're an Oilers fan, it's not an emergence of Draisaitl. It's the emergence of a second line, right?
Yes.
And not just any second line, but maybe the second line in hockey today, right? Outside of any line that Connor McDavid's on, right? Like, let's be honest, that's number one and number two in the league, right?
Yeah, say this out loud. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Yamamoto, and Draisaitl. I mean, that's just just off the tongue. It's like music.
Yeah, and potentially the second best line in hockey today, right?
Well, honestly, they were the number one line out of Edmonton.
Oh, yeah, but
whichever line Connor is on is number one. But that was a number one line for sure. We have two number one lines.
Yeah.
We have the Nuge Yamo line, and then whoever plays with McDavid.
Well, you're a opposing coach. Who do you put your top pair out against? That's the problem it creates, right?
And that's what ended up happening after All-Star break. We started whooping butt because they couldn't coach against us.
Yeah.
That's a good point there. So with this Oilers season that we're having, I agree with you, Chad. It was exciting to watch them, and you feel something with these guys. So do you put Tippett in the conversation for Adams? Do you put Ken Holland in the conversation for GM of the year?
You have to.
100%.
You have to,
100%.
just because of the turnaround, right?
Oh man, it was massive. Like our team coming into before COVID, we were looking. I was watching games, going, "Oh my god, we have a shot, a legitimate shot." Like you can't coach this team. You can't coach against this team right now. And teams were having a hard time coaching against the Oilers.
Yeah, no, and you can't argue that, right?
Well, when your 5-on-5 play is above mediocrity, and you have a lights out power play and a really good penalty kill. I mean, that's the difference. When was the last time we had a competent penalty kill? It's been a while.
So the last cup run we made, right? What was that? 2000. What was that? When did Connor come in? When did we start in Rogers? I can't think of the year. I'm drawing a blank.
16.
Yeah. When Kessler was a douchebag and grabbed Cam's pad. That was, we had a great penalty kill that year. And then after that, it just went poof.
I think that was the 16-17 season.
Yeah. But with 11 games remaining in the season, we already had 4 more points than we had all of last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we were, after the All-Star break, I saw a whole new team. I saw a brand new hockey club, and I was stoked. I was like, holy crap, this is going to be a fun playoffs.
Well, for a while, Connor was hurt, right? So Draisaitl was carrying the load, and they were doing okay. And then Connor came back, and there was a little bit of a sag, and then he kind of got going, and the whole team got going.
So we've always had Connor and Draisaitl for the last few years. What's the biggest difference this year in this team that makes that? Like, is it Yamamoto, or is it Bear? Or is it goaltending?
Yamamoto and Draisaitl make such a great second line. It makes it impossible to coach against our team. I don't care what anyone says. Good luck. Good luck to you.
Our D's got better too. Like Bear coming in, Caleb Jones being a capable fill-in. There's nights where we're carrying 7 competent defensemen, and it's been a while since we've had that. So.
Oh,
and I know
Klefbom and Nurse have proven themselves to be top 4 D-men. Right.
What's that?
Klefbom and Nurse have proven themselves to be top 4 D-men.
Absolutely. And I can't stand people that dog Larson. I think that guy's a gator in the making. He just wants to be that stay-at-home monster that will punish you every time you're anywhere near the net. I love Larson, and I can't stand when people dog him. It drives me nuts.
And I think it was one of the reasons why we sagged a little bit there was Larson was out of the lineup for a while.
Yeah,
100%. Yep.
I 100% agree with you guys about Yamamoto. Yamamoto was a huge boost for us. He's given us that extra threat and made that number 2 line our number 1 line. But the other things to consider is why we were off kind of slow or had a bit of a slump is we had these new guys, Archibald and Cheyenne, and these guys come in who were still trying to find their role on the team. Like they weren't that impressive when they first showed up. I mean, Colin knew who he was getting, but it takes a while for role players, especially, to find that sync with a team. They're not relied upon to score goals, what have you. You know, they got to find their role. And once they did, they've been a force for us. Like Archibald, especially, like for a little guy like that, throws his body around is ridiculous.
Yeah, Shan was good on the penalty kill all season, but a foot like the switch turned on him when he scored his first goal. Then some confidence started to come for the guy, and he became a force. I really like Shan.
And I love Archibald. I think that guy is the next. I hope he's the next Torres. That's my goal. That's what I hope.
I think Archibald is the next. What's his face? Matty Hendricks.
Oh yeah.
Well, there's a Cogliano there. The guy's got wheels and he can hit and.
Well, I hope in the playoffs Archibald turns into the next Pisani. That's all I'm going to say.
Anybody. I hope anybody turns into the next Pisani. I saw a clip of him doing his little backhand, grabbing the puck and then backhanding in the net there in the playoffs against Carolina. I mean, that guy, yeah, wow, hey, like, I mean, he changed the outlook. My feeling for this team, though, honestly, and I've said this before, I mean, you're I think dead on, Chad, about the second line. I mean, you can't, if you've got two lines like that, you can't, your fortunes are going to change. But to me, I said this about the last year, which is you've got a team like the Oilers where you've got two guys in previous years that could take the puck out of the zone. That's it. You got Draisaitl and McDavid. They can take the puck from anywhere, and they'll go end to end, right? But we didn't have anybody else, right? Those other guys needed a good pass from the back end. And I think what happened this year, you talk about having a 1A, 1B top forward lines. We got, a couple of puck movers in 1 and 2 on the D side, right? With Clefbaum played pretty much a full season, and then Bear. Like, Bear is outstanding. I've never seen patience on a guy that young. Like,
I'm so impressed with Ethan Bear on his ability to move the puck without any distress. I'm so impressed with that kid.
He looks like he's been playing for years, right?
Man,
well, it'll be interesting to see next season. Make sure he doesn't hit the sophomore slump. It's even harder for a D-man to keep that going because forwards will get a read on him, right? So let's see how much he matures over the summer. But
it's as if the game slowed down for him, right?
I agree. And Ethan can handle his own. Don't you worry. Those forwards can go ahead and zone in on him. He'll punish you.
He's got a pretty decent partner for handling that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Ethan Bear. I've never seen somebody so young as a defenseman with so much patience, and he does. I've seen him just wait for that right pass, and I'm like, where's this kid? Like, how is this? Like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
Who is this kid? It blew me away.
No, it's unbelievable.
A lot of vets can't even. A lot of vets still have a hard time with that. He was just so cool.
He takes that extra second to make the right play.
Yeah, he did, and it was so important. And you could tell guys like Connor McDavid and those guys, they really root for him, and they love that guy because of the fact that he can get them the puck.
Yeah, he's been outstanding, and it's just crazy that the talent was always there. It was the rest of everything else, right? Like the fitness level, the preparation that goes into being an NHLer, right? And all of those little things, I think, or not so little for that matter, but all of those things that really made a difference. And it's interesting, and I don't think I think that when you got a guy like that, and you got, as I said, like, to be fair, right, that third D line, they don't see a lot of minutes, right? Like, they see very few minutes, and they just, they have one goal. It's to get out there and don't get scored on, right? Like, that's what that's it, right? And they'll tell you that, right? You need your top line, your top D pair to, and I actually think like Clefbaum and Larson, if they're healthy, I'd have them on most teams. I mean, you got a guy that nobody wants to get into the corner with, and Caleb even, he even said that when he was on the show. He's like, like Larson's Larson's mean and he's big and he's solid, right? Like in fact, when he came over from New Jersey, there were players in the league that commented that said they were happy not to see him in the corners anymore, right? Like he is, he doesn't look like a monster, but he is a monster. And you see it when he goes into the corner with somebody. You rarely see him get pushed out of the way, right? Like he is just he is so solid.
I'll be the most hated person on your podcast right now because when that trade was made, I was actually really, really happy to see Adam Larson come to the Oilers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that I was really happy about it, but it wasn't. I didn't think. In fact, he was such a big part of our playoff run.
Yep.
Like, and if you're too blind to see that, then too bad.
Do you want to know why Ethan Bear is going to be super successful in Edmonton? Honestly, the biggest reason is because everyone in the locker room loves him and he gels so well with the team. They're going to make sure he succeeds.
No, I am such a big Ethan Bear fan.
We haven't touched on yet is the Oilers seem like a very tight team. And I know often winning will do that to you, but you see those guys, you see them talking on the bench. They're always smiling. Everybody's chatting with each other. I think Tippett knows. I think Tippett's one of those guys who lets the players do their thing in the dressing room. Like he'll come in and say his spiel and let the players do their own thing to gel and that sort of thing. And it shows on the ice. The genuine joy on their face when they see one of their role guys score a goal. Like that's not fluke. That's not fake.
Nope. I see it, and every time that I see, like I'll use Ethan because I see it so much. Is when he scores or when he does something, like the first person to him is the captain. Like he is so respected, and the whole team respects everybody in that locker room. That I love this hockey team because they're a team.
It's funny, you had James Neal come in where he was on the outside in Calgary. And all of a sudden you got guys like him and Mike Smith that the team has gelled around here in Edmonton. So you wonder if they talked about cancer in Edmonton room forever. You wonder if that's in Calgary. I do.
100%.
Well, yeah, I don't. I mean, who knows about that? Like they came off, I think, with what is a I mean, they had a hell of a regular season. I contend the biggest problem in Calgary, and I don't mind watching Johnny Gaudreau play a regular season game. Like the guy's actually he can handle the puck really well. I know, Chad. I know. I hate Calgary as much as anybody, but the guy's got hockey talent. But to watch him like in the playoffs, you got to get into the dirty areas. Like it's just a different game, and he doesn't play that game, and you can get away with that in the regular season. But I've watched him. He'll go and he does the little stick, to try to put the puck away. You're gonna get flattened, and he's too scared. Like he's too small to play.
Who's doing it right in Calgary?
Who? Luch.
Matthew Tkachuk. Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah.
If we hate him as Oilers fans, he's doing his job as a Flame.
That's true.
Does anybody here hate Gaudreau?
No. I mean,
love the guy.
Yeah, love the guy.
Gaudreau is he's an okay hockey player. He's not stellar for me. He reminds me one of my favorite hockey players that we lost because of his performance in the playoffs was Jordan Eberle. Him to death. I love that kid. I thought he was great, but he proved in the playoffs that he doesn't have the grit to go and do the gritty things, and it sucked.
But I would tell you that he's got more grit than Gaudreau in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't take much though.
That's a problem.
I agree with Chad. That's the first name that came to my mind was Eberle because he kind of had the same thing where he didn't go into the corners. Right. I mean, he's good.
But if Eberle was supposedly your best player, right? Like that's even worse, right? Isn't it?
Gaudreau is also a guy you will never see Johnny Gaudreau play through pain. I don't think you'll ever see that from him.
Yeah, well, he,
So,
you know,
Johnny,
every
Johnny
time you hit
Gaudreau
his
is
hand, it
100% a
breaks. Right?
millennial hockey player.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh man.
He's got skill. I'll give him. He's got some skill. He's got pretty good vision, but he is a wuss. Like
It's a regular season guy.
when he's out there without the puck, he's in full survival mode.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the I've watched enough of him because frankly I watch almost as many Flames games because my second favorite team is playing, and that's whoever's playing the Flames, and so I watch just about as many Flames games in hopes that whoever they're playing that night beats the crap out of them, and I can tell you that I know.
Okay. Who do you cheer for, Calgary or Vancouver?
Vancouver. If I had to, I'd cheer for Vancouver.
Vancouver.
I can't cheer for Calgary in any.
I'll never cheer for the Flames. I'll cheer for Vancouver before I cheer for the Flames. Absolutely.
The worst thing that could ever happen in my mind is that a Flames win would mean us getting into the playoffs, because I wouldn't know what to do.
Conflicted.
I would be so conflicted.
Calgary versus Vancouver. I want to see a tie into a shootout. Both goalies get hurt. They can't finish. They bring in the Zamboni drivers. They get hurt. They end up in a tie. There's no way to fix it.
And the rink implodes.
Yeah.
And the rink implodes.
That too.
All right. Well, could happen. Could happen.
Ducks, Flames. Who are you taking?
Ducks.
Same scenario.
Oh yeah.
Especially now with no Kessler, he's no longer there. No Perry, so.
I literally the one team that I just couldn't cheer for would be the Flames. I mean, most of the time I won't. Vancouver's close, but they're just not close enough that I would cheer for the Flames over Vancouver. It's anyone but Calgary. Now I do try to, as I said about Gaudreau, I try to watch each game, and acknowledge when a player is good or bad or otherwise. Like I try not to be the Oilers. I try not to have my Oilers glasses on all the time when I'm watching the Flames.
I'm trying to be the bigger person here, Mike.
Yeah. But I mean, the reality is like I think the Flames are in trouble, like over the next couple of seasons, and the only saving grace they might have is they've got which he'll be a couple of years away, and you never know how a guy develops, is that goaltender they've got in the wings that they just signed, Wolf. Yeah, pretty damn good goalie. But I mean, there's a lot of guys that have been good goalies in the CHL.
I was super stoked when Calgary sent us 2 players, and we sent them 2 basically, and our 2 flourished and their 2 didn't.
Well, I gotta say, Holland should get GM of the year for the Neil Lucic trade alone. Nobody. Lucic had the untradeable contract. Like, how does that even happen? What kind of pictures does Holland have of people in the Calgary organization to get away with that?
That day I was going to tweet out that there's no way we're trading Lucic, so let's all stop talking about it. And boom, he's gone.
For James Neal.
I was shocked.
James Neal. His one under 20 goal season of his career, and all of a sudden he's washed up. Are you kidding me?
There was rumors about that though, like I think a month and a half before it actually went down. And I was like, yeah, right, that ain't never gonna happen. And sure enough.
And it's really neat that McDavid was training with Neil all summer long, and then all of a sudden this trade happened. And I was like, good old Connor.
Oh, geez.
And he did legitimately. I know he's stuck at 19, but he was a 20 goal scorer this year, without a doubt.
Oh yeah.
All right, guys. We're at 10 o'clock. Time goes by fast. When you guys are on here, a little too fast.
I was just
love
getting my
having
second
the
win.
goalies.
That's
I know. I was like, let's talk more goaltenders. Let's go.
I want to give. So we're gonna shut it down for about 2 minutes. We'll get Name Cardinal on, who runs the site and is a big hockey collector dedicated to Indigenous hockey players. And if you don't know, it's Indigenous History Month, National Indigenous History Month. And so he has got the coolest site. It's on indigenousrookiecard.com. So that's singular, rookiecard.com. Go check the site out, and we're going to be back in a couple of minutes. Thanks again, Bob, Chad. I even mean the thank yous.
Yeah, good game, Chad. Hey,
Yeah.
tap to you, buddy.
Yeah, tap.
Good job, bro.
Stick taps to
love you,
everybody.
Bob. Good job, buddy.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week, right?
Oh yeah.
You bet.
All right. Have a great night, and Mike, I will see you momentarily. So we're gonna shut it down right now, and then we'll be back in less than 5 minutes. See you then.
Awesome.